from 17 once again. This is a balls deep of Tales of Xillia. Or Xillia, if you say it like that, which some people do. This is the Tales series. It is one of 2 games, not the most recent ones, but as close as I can get to a recent one. It is exclusive to the PlayStation 3. And let's get started, shall we? So if you don't know too much about the Tales series, to me, I was always struck as it was kind of the lesser known RPG ongoing running series, a little bit like your Final Fantasies, but not quite to the same critical acclaim, even though they are really, really good games in their own right. This one is interesting. My history with the Tales series is I played Tales of Symphony, or Symphonia, I think it was called, for the GameCube, and I had a lot of fun with it. Then I played Tales of Vesperia for the 360, and that's pretty much the lineage of my Tales games, and I think these are really good at what they do, and what they do is something quite interesting, so let's just get into it, if we can. So I'm making this guy dizzy so I can do this, and it gives me an advantage in combat. But when you initiate a fight, the fight goes a little bit like this, and it's been a while since I've played, so when I hold the L2, it enables me to free run, and you'll notice I'm linking at this moment in time with this fella next to me. When I'm not free running, I'm running on an axis, on a 2-dimensional axis with the enemy. And that way I can have inputs the way I want them to be, because this is a game where during the combat which is taking place, I can pick my moves, I can do what I want, and I can effectively juggle, combo and style on enemies, and it's a really interesting system. I think more games should be like it, because it gets really crazy too when you get a little bit further into it and you get more into what you're doing. You have a guard button, which is square, and if you do this, you do a little counter. Oh, I pressed the wrong button there. Triangle goes to your menu. Is it X to fight? It is indeed. But you can do a counter move where you get behind people, so you can do it again. Yeah, there we go. And it's this interesting thing of, you have this old school mentality RPG of having a full team of 4 people, you've got your levels, you've got your magic, you've got your HP, but then you've also got this almost character-driven action game happening while you fight, where it's not quite as precise and as, you know, skill-intensive as those said games, but it's a hell of a lot more down to the player than the RNG strategy, you know, rolling the dice of your average RPG. So it gives it this really interesting systems, and I'm going to try and show you some of the more interesting parts. So here is the generic RPG menu. You've seen this many times if you're a JRPG fan, where inside your items you've got all the familiar gels if you've played this series, because it's very reminiscent on its fiction and its canon. It's got your food that give you benefits and all your other stuff. Pretty simple RPG fare. Then there's your arts, and this is when things get a little bit more interesting. So you'll notice on the left there are commands. That one is like nothing on the left stick and pressing the skill button, which will give me a demon fist, which is a shockwave that rushes towards the foe. You can see how much it costs to use, and they usually tell you how good they are, or the element on them, and things of that nature. But if I press up and the skill button, I get the swallow dance, which is a consecutive spin kick that spiral the body further up into the sky. I don't have anything for back and forward, or whatever that input is at the moment. I have on down, I have soaring vortex and meditative breathing, which standing enemies puts them into the air basically. And then there's the stuff you can map to the right analog, and this is handled just by flicking the analog in a direction, and you can get each of these different attacks, and I can customize them as I see fit. And you're looking at, give or take, around 8 inputs that you can be doing at any given time in any order, and as you can tell, there's potential for a hell of a lot of combos, a hell of a lot of creativity, and just a system in an RPG that you don't really see too much, and that the Tales has been perfecting for a very long time now, and it keeps on getting better. Then you have your standard equipment. This is an RPG where you get to have a weapon, headgear, armour and accessory. and some attachments which are superfluous things you can put on that don't affect the game. They just make you look a little bit more customised, which I don't really mess too much with. And then you have your Xillia orb, which this is the equivalent of your sphere grid or your job system, depending on what RPGs you're used to. And to look at it, it kind of looks intimidating, doesn't it? You've got this big, colourful, almost spiderweb floral thing going on, and each of these correlates to a different statistic. I think the system here is interesting, but I think the way it's handled to the player is a little disappointing, because it takes away the exclusivity of knowledge and skill. And what I mean by this is, you have to go around set paths on this board to unlock the additional boards. You can't just focus on one particular area and go really high really quick and get to the overpowered stuff if you know how to, because the game is balanced in such a way that you can pretty much go the path you like, but it's not going to guarantee you get the thing you like. For instance, I would love to never get any other stat except for strength, or agility, I think it is, or dexterity, one of the two. And that way I could have a super overpowered character who couldn't take too much damage. But the good part is, I really like blocking on this game. I really like doing the dodge and the evade and the counter attacks, so I could have a glass cannon that destroys things but doesn't last very long. And that would be something really interesting to me. However, this is the kind of RPG where they don't want to overburden people with this stuff, but they still want to give the illusion of depth. So much like the sphere grid before it, which only really became technical towards the end of the game when you could clear the spheres, and even if you started on expert it wasn't that technical, this looks a hell of a lot more complicated than it is. However, it is considerably more interesting than anything Final Fantasy is doing recently, because that is really tragic, and we get all this technology yet the RPGs get simpler and it makes no sense to me. But let's push forward a little bit more. In here we have skills, which are things that you can turn on passively that will help you with the team. There's a lot of strategy in this game, guys. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I'm just going to try and push forward and see where we are. Never mind. Thought we had a dash. We perhaps do. I just can't remember how. It's been a while since I played. The stuff I just picked up then are resources that you can use to upgrade shops later on in your travels. It's got good music, this game, as well. It's got a lot of really great things. I think the combat is fantastic. I think the quest system is interesting because you can warp at any point to a different area. Have I just gone back? I might have gone back. We'll soon find out. I think the characters are kind of lacking. There is... I don't know. It's one of those things where the part of this game, for me personally, that breaks down is my involvement with the story. I love the gameplay. I think the gameplay is fantastic, but I'm one of those rare people who play RPGs for the story, and the gameplay is secondary to the story. So, in spite of the fact I really want to play this game, I almost have no draw to do so. And right now, I'm not too sure where I'm meant to be going, but we'll just have a run around. Let's fight some more things. Get some more of that combat up in here. Can't really spin the camera as fast as I'd like. There we go. And then we go back into this. So that stuns everybody. And I believe if I do one of those special moves I can... There we go. And after this you can do a different input, maybe. There's a strategy where you chain those mystic arts, and of course I've completely forgotten how to do it, so you're not going to see too much of that. But it is really interesting stuff. I like it a lot. Like, I think back in... Oh, wrong button. I had a strategy on this so far where I was sweeping them to knock them down, I was launching them from the knockdown, and then I was juggling them in the air. And it's that kind of detail that I wish more RPGs did, instead of... I love turn-based systems, but we've done them so much it might be time to move away from them and do different things. However, certain games just got it really wrong. I love Final Fantasy 13. However, Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns had a really interesting combat system, because it rewarded timing, which sensitivity is a little bit low, even I've got it on max. But, is that my sweep? No, I keep doing that crazy palm move. Where's my sweep? I think that was it. It's like a water sweep. It's beastly. Oh, yeah. So... Uh oh. There we go. Oh, that's the juggle. And then I usually do it into a combo, but it's the fact it rewards player input rather than you watching the gameplay itself once you've given them the options. And I think that separates it from a lot, in a lot of good ways. As we level up a few times. That's where we came from, isn't it? So, as you can tell in the top left, there is a minimap. Minimap is super useful in games like this. There must be a fucking bigger map. What button do I press? Oh no, not this. Never this. Oh my goodness. What have I got myself into? Thank God. So if you're wondering what that is one of the most interesting yet divisive parts of the Tales series. You can literally have your ear chewed off for hours if you listen to all those conversations, and in Tales of Symphonia I did that and I enjoyed it. In this game, it's like watching fucking paint dry, so I cannot ever do it. So, if you push the right analog, you can warp to any of the previous places you've been. So I'm going to warp us to a town so I can show you a little town action. Because this is not going to be a very long balls deep. This is one of those type of games where you already know what this is if you're a fan of the series. And if you're an RPG fan, RPG fans tend to play anything. So you're probably already having got your hands on it or you're looking into do so. This video is not going to get this series any new fans because RPGs are a dying breed. They're a niche that the Tales series fill quite well, considering all the other RPG makers have kind of gave up on what made them great. Except for maybe the Star Ocean team, and even then, their stories are pretty horrific. But there is a progression of things happening in those stories. This game, to me, kind of feels like a continuous episode of Emmerdale. But this is the shop. This is an accessory shop, to be specific. And there's this option of expanding, and I think this is really interesting, and you can tell where my loyalty lied. I went for weapons really early to try and get overpowered, and it doesn't really work that way. But on your travels, you pick up these resources, which I don't think they do anything except for maybe you can sell them. And you can use them here to upgrade shops, and as you upgrade them, they get more things for you to do. And you'll notice on the right hand side there is a bonus here. And what that means is, if I give the item shop any leaves, or any of the leaf category, which, if I donate materials, the leaf category is this, I have herbs. They will give me 2 times the amount of resource to upgrade the shop. And it's this subsystem of moving between areas and kind of exploiting the areas that give you the most for your money. So there's this really interesting economy of building your towns up, of building and cultivating better shops. And it adds an extra, you know, just an extra level of depth to the general RPG fare, which some people will never touch this stuff. They'll probably just bumble their way through and enjoy themselves without having need to really do it. And then on the other side, there'll be people who'll obsess over this, and this will be one of the biggest driving forces, because it affords a lot of player creativity and reward. Like, you could literally farm the first area and get your shops up super high and stomp the game. I'm not too sure how effective it would be with the balancing and everything, but it's something you could definitely indulge in, which is a really interesting thing to do as well. But you've got your save points. You can talk to some people when they've got the smiley face. When it's outside of cutscenes, there is no VO, but I think there is a charm to reading RPGs that we're moving away from as we get better and better technology. But it's got great music. It's visually interesting, even though it's not going to blow your mind. I just think that the story on this one is a little bit of a slow burner, but if you can get around that, there is a lot of fun and a lot of RPG to be found here with Tales of Xillia. And if you like this and you want more, there is in fact Tales of Xillia 2, which is the sequel to it, which I actually think looks a little bit more interesting than this game. But that was a balls deep of a game you either want to play or you'll never touch. But either way, it's definitely worth checking out, because it's doing something that I really respect, and that is carving its own niche into a genre that we don't see too much representation of anymore, because unfortunately the Eastern style design of RPG has been superseded by the West. I mean, whoever thought that would be the case, but you know, turns out that the Western devs make some pretty damn good games as well. But thank you very much for listening, thank you for watching, and you take care now.